All right, thank you very much. I'm going to jump right into it because I see the red card. It's on top. So that means there's no longer any card other than the red one. So I'm from the University of New Hampshire Stormwater Center. We've been looking at stormwater related issues for 10 years. And originally we started out looking at water quality. And what we realized, and what's been the most impressive thing to me, is the dynamic flexibility of green infrastructure and enhanced innovative stormwater management strategies. And not only is it very flexible, but it's also ancillary benefits in terms of cost, economics, and building resiliency. So up till now, we've really been talking a lot about structures. We heard a lot of great information in the beginning about sea level rise. I'm here to talk about really adaptation strategies, and I think climate mitigation, my simple distillation of it, I look at it as about reducing emissions, it's controlling carbon. Adaptation is all about water and response to water. So we've heard a lot about keeping water out of structures, particularly businesses and homes. I come from it from the landscape perspective, and we want to keep water in the landscape. So out of your homes and in the landscape, you give water a place to go and be stored in the landscape. We've seen a lot of graphs like this. I'm not going to spend any time on this. The prospects are all increasing storm frequencies from climate change. This is just the current data in the last half century updated. We've seen an increase in this area of about 71% of the extreme storm events. That's the 1 percentile event. Very, very significant, especially considering our designs never really even target this. What we really have in stormwater is the perfect storm. We've got increasing intense rain events right now. This is not the future, today. We have anticipated increasing by up to 36% additionally over the next decade or so. And we have a changing landscape. Our landscape is urbanizing very, very quickly, particularly in the coastal area. And I haven't even talked about storm surge. So realistically, urbanization has the same impact with respect to runoff as increasing intense rain events. You're removing the ability of the landscape to soak up that water. Instead, it's efficiently and effectively shedding it, and away is increasingly elusive. So we have really two distinct strategies. Knowing your risk and what your risk is very, very important. When we work with inland communities, we're doing a lot of culvert assessments, because this is where we see a lot of the damage. We have undersized culverts out there, and they turn into dams, essentially, in flooding events, and it creates damages like this. So if we're replacing culverts and we can update the designs, all the better. We know that this is coming. We've heard a lot about all the projections. We know where they're going. This is a study from University of Maine that just the perception of change. So the expenditures based on 71 assessed municipal officials of current day, and then the anticipated expenditures related to future impacts from flooding and storm events. So we know inherently we know that we're anticipating more. This, however, does not really generate the funds. The knowledge of it doesn't generate the political will or the funds to do something. So I want to cover three basic things that we can do right now to build resiliency into the landscape, and then I'll show you some examples. So using up-to-date design standards, in a lot of respects, all our climate information comes from Technical Report 40 from NOAA that was published in 1963, and that's when they stopped adding data to the data sets. In New Hampshire, we just changed it. The Northeast Regional Climate Center in Cornell publishes up-to-date rainfall records, and we've seen our storm frequencies increase anywhere from 2 to 36%. So using up-to-date data, including multiple no-risk improvements in all designs. And I want to stress this. I talked originally about how easy this is. And I'll show you a few examples a little bit later. Every summer, every construction season, we're ripping sidewalks up, we're repairing roads, we're repairing infrastructure. And in many ways, our culture has not changed. Even though we know it's coming, we're not improving our methods. I would have to say, if you leave here with anything, we can no longer design infrastructure in our landscape for single uses. We're in a day and age where our landscape has to be multiple uses. If we want trees on the sidewalk to improve the aesthetics, they need additional functionality. We need to build reservoirs under the sidewalk to store water. The more we can restore that hydrological capacity of the landscape, the better off and more resilient that we're going to be. And again, it's not going to solve everything, but these are no risk, no harm solutions that can improve resiliency. And then identify hotspots for implementation. We're in the process right now of coming up with a very simple culvert analysis where we can scan large amounts of culverts over large geographic areas for their susceptibility to damming or creating orifice flow, causing downstream flooding. Here's the data from the Northeast Regional Climate Center. It's pretty compelling. I don't know if Rhode Island has updated their storm frequencies yet. I anticipate that they likely have, but it's something that everybody should be doing.
Yes.
Great. Also updating code. Where we've written, this is the old fuse box, and obviously if you're renovating your house, you're no longer using that because it was a health and human safety issue. We've developed guidelines for green infrastructure and LID incorporation into municipal codes. And again, we designed them to be flexible and they're more performance-based. They're not prescriptive. We actually work quite closely to increase the flexibility of these standards. And so this is available on our website, and it's something that we're improving all the time. We've also modeled the pollutant load. We just recently modeled the pollutant load reductions from a $0 update to your standards, and over time, these are yielding large net reductions if you have any water quality issues. So obviously, municipalities are facing these problems, and our response to these issues is going to have a profound effect, not only today, but into the future. So we need to get to a point where we're incorporating this new culture of design into everything that we do. And again, we use the pre-development hydrology as our guideline. We try to take the urban environment and adapt it in a way that it responds like an undeveloped site. Not altogether tricky, but it's a different design context than we typically approach these issues with. So this is a culvert analysis we did in the Oyster River watershed in Durham. And again, what we're doing is we're identifying high-risk areas. So if you only have a few dollars to spend on improvements, this will identify those areas that are most critical, most prone to downstream flooding. This is inland areas. If you're downstream of this, or if you're in a coastal area, we need to start adapting our coastal environments to be more flexible. I would think that the engineers in the last 50 years grew up and were educated that water was the enemy. Their properties, everything was hardened against water. You wanted to keep water off your property, get it off as quick as possible, protect the pavements from intrusion of water. And I think we can safely say that water typically always wins. And it's something that we need to start designing our landscape to invite water, or at least the inevitability that water will be flowing through the landscape. So the soft shore, working on the shoreline, especially a hardened shoreline, is an area of new exploration for us, and coming up with innovative systems that can handle not only flooding but inundation from storm surge is going to be critical to future operations. This culvert was one of the highest priority culverts in that area. We did replace it. This is what we replaced it with. So this is actually job security. This was routinely revisited after large storm events and repaired. This obviously functions and looks very, very different. As far as what green infrastructure looks like in the landscape, it's very, very simple. These designs are not complex. You don't need $70,000 architects to include them, and we're trying to work with municipalities to incorporate this in their sort of municipal DNA. We're digging large holes, and we're filling those large holes with stone to restore that absorptive capacity of the landscape that's largely transformed through urbanization. The last slide I have, this is Commercial Street in Providence, Rhode Island. It's a porous asphalt street. This was largely designed to mitigate effects from combined sewer overflows, but also it provides a tremendous storage capacity for flood events in the downtown. So again, we're designing knowing that water is going to be an issue, and we're inviting water into the pavements as opposed to shedding it off. And I'll end right there as my